We continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Bura Hilchais Betzias Hapas. We're in the middle of Siman Kuf Samoches, and we're beginning the difficult discussions of Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin Sif Zayin. And we make mention, like we ended off the previous year, that each detail over here is a very lengthy, long, difficult discussions. For now, we're going to try to at least get the basic reading of the Mishnah Bura, so that hopefully, with further learning, further shiurim, one will be able to understand the sheet of the Mishnah Bura as well as the Psak Halacha. So we pick it up from Sif Zayin, in which the Mechaber teaches us Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin. What is this entity called Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin? Yesh Mefarshim Sav Sei Pasha Sekimin Kisim. It's bread that's made with pockets. Shememalim Maisam Devashi, filled with honey or sugar or sugar, vegoizim and nuts, ushkedim v'tavlin and other types of spices. Maybe it's like a rugelach. I don't know. It's a bread, maybe like a turnover, maybe like a calzone. It's a bread that you stuff the inside with other items. And some say that's the Shita Rishayna. That is the Arech, Ratur, the Rashba. Yesh Aimrim comes along the sheet of the Rambam, and he says, She Isa She'ira by Devash, it's bread that you mix in the bread itself, the dough itself, honey, shemen, chalav, oimine, tavlin, vav. So in this opinion, it's not dough that's filled. The dough itself is created with sweet and other types of ingredients. And it has the taste of the mixture of fruit, ayatavla, and nikarvis, and you can actually taste it. Now that line of the Mechaber is a very big line, because we just said, according to the second Yesh Aimrim, that if the dough is mixed with other ingredients, what happens? It now becomes Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin. Now, what's the big deal? Let's just remind ourselves what we learned in Sif Vav, is that once something is Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin, then it is not an automatic hamaitzi. Then it's more dependent on the style of eating, how you're eating, what you're eating, if you make a meal out of it, etc. If something is regular piece of bread, a piece of challah, it's irrelevant how much you eat, when you eat it, what you're eating it. You make a hamaitzi if you're finished. If you bench, you need to have a shear. But when something is in this new category called Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin, then it is only a hamaitzi if you check off the boxes. So the question is, what is this Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin? So the first opinion taught us it's like a calzone, it's like a turnover, something that it's a regular dough, that it's stuffed with other ingredients. The second opinion said, no, it's a dough that's kneaded and mixed the dough itself with other ingredients. Then the Mechaber clarifies that according to the second opinion, you have to actually taste it. Meaning, for example, if one will take a dough and knead the dough with fruit juice, but when you taste the dough by itself, you do not taste the fruit juice. It tastes like a regular dough. According to the Mechaber, that would not be enough to make a Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin. Continues the Ramah. V'yesh Aimrim, a third opinion, Shezenik Rapas Kamer, that this, what we just said, is called regular bread. Ella im kein yeshvem harbe tavlin, unless there's a lot of spice, oy dvash or honey, kimini metika shikar and lekach. Unless it is what the Mechaber refers to as lekach. The Targum on the bottom says that's called an uga. Of course, that doesn't have to necessarily be. Shekimat hadvash v'tavlin eikar. Says the Ramah, has to be something that kemat, the honey, the spice, is the ikar. Rashi, Arav, Chenish, Varish, Das, Rambam. So the Ramah seemingly is very bold. And the Ramah comes along, and after the Mechaber seem to be very broad and open up the proverbial Pandora's box, the Pas Haba'ah B'Kisnin box, to include a lot of things, the Mechaber said no, has to be the Devash and the Tavlin is Iker. Sounds like the Mechaber just wiped away all of the Shailas and said all of that which we thought is the Shailah, the pizza, the calzones, the garlic nuts, that's for sure Hamaitzi. You know what's maybe not? It's only going to be something like a cookie, something like a cake. Now, obviously, every example I gave is a world war, just trying to give the extremities to understand what's going on over here. Continues the Mechaber with a third opinion of the Aruch B'Shem Rav Haigoin, V'yesh Mefarish, Shubas, Bein Mitubeles, Bein Mishein Mitubeles, whether it's spiced or not, Sha'oinaisin Isa Ke'evin Yeveshim, they make it these dry boards, these dry thick items. They chew them. Bishkanish sounds like a biscuit, which is more of a matzah cracker type item. Kulam. Says the Mechaber. The Mechaber gave three opinions. The Ramah modified and started to, protest that it has to have lots of honey, lots of sweetness, etc. And says the Mechaber, we pass like all of them. Everything gets a din of pas haba b'kistin. Okay, so in case we're not confused yet, let's begin the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah begins, if Gater Chavzayin Shemamal and Isan's the first opinion, Ratzalaima. Af in the Ula Shebitchil B'mayim Ksharbas. So Mishnah Berurah explains, like we said, that according to the first opinion, it's nilush, it's needed to start, it's a regular piece of bread. And then, because every dough is filled with these items, even though the filling is the main, it's a regular piece of bread. Excuse me. Even though it starts, but then, I read that wrong. Let's go back. Starts off as regular bread, but then since it's filled, this dough is filled with all these items, this calzone, and the miloi, the filling, is the main item by him, the mushrooms, the cheese, the honey, etc. It's considered a mizaynis, ve'enai batal. Kach levarach bar min mizaynis upater as I call. Kvashkasav sin reish chasif beis and gimel. Va'ach im enai oichel isav rak ha'perish shebifnim levad. This apple turnover, all you eat is the fruit inside. Then mavarich habracha sheichas ha'peris. There's no mizaynis at all. Continues Mishmur Kasvataz. If you take the fruit and you eat just the dough, why? Seemingly you just destroyed the basma bekistin. Seemingly you just made it into amaitzi. So why all of a sudden it's still, even though you removed all the filling, still it is a mizayne. It says Mishnah Berurah Yeshel din kisnin kivshnaf emilu appears because that's the way it is made. Because that's not normal to be kaveh suda on a bro like this. And seemingly the Mishnah gives a very large weight to such a line. And because since it's not normal, even though you remove the filler and now you would think, what is it? It's a regular piece of dough. No, it's still a mezainis. Says Mishnah either one. Mistaver Damair Gamkej Tamamili Nikar Beisa says Mishpur to Mistaver that even the first opinion you could taste in the dough, you could taste the filling. Kamosha Messiah Lebasif. Sheira Vasim Kotachavtas Beisa Alishas, the second opinion that you needed in honey, sugar, etc. while you are kneading the dough. Even though, says Mishnah Berurah, it could be that this dough is majority water. So it doesn't sound like it's a din and roiv, says Mishnah Berurah. But says Mishnah Berurah, it could be that it's a regular dough, it's regular flour and water, but that 10% honey that you mixed into the batter gives it a sweet taste. Therefore, mikri baskis then, according to the second opinion, continuing Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat Lamed, it's nikar beisa, dilavachi, because if not, havilechem gomer. Strong line. If not, if you don't taste the honey in the dough, if you don't taste the fruit juice in the dough, it's a regular bread. Just because you add in raisins and other items into the bread, it's still regular bread. Sivkata and Lamed Aleph is going on the Ramah. Says the Ramah, V'yishayimrim shenikra pas gamur. Hainu says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat Lamed Aleph, Eicha de'iraba v'lisharak ma'at dvash. V'chalav einay batal shein pas machash and nirgash atam. Says the Mishnah Berurah. What did we just say according to the second opinion? That you're only putting in a minority of the item with taste. You taste it. 10% honey, but it's only 10%. On that says the Mishnah Berurah has a din of pas. Pas gomer sivkat lamaveiz v'archamoitzi l'cholshu v'chein v'chzamoznik zayis kedin pas, like we spoke out. Bread has no rules, doesn't make a difference. Kviyas doesn't make a difference. So people eat it as It is a shtick bread. You make hamoitzi on one dot, and you'll bench once you have the requisite kizayis. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkatan Lamed Gimel. Elam Kain Yishba Harbeit. Elam Kain Yishba Harbeit Tavlin. Shabura says like a lekach. Explains the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan Lamed Gimel of the words of the Ramah Ratzalaymar. Shekol Kach Tavlin Mu'urav. There is so much spices inside of it, Bahen. Add until the point. Sha'al Yedei. You taste it more than the flour of so says Mishnah Berurah, it's not enough just to taste it. Has to be roiv from these other items more than even the flour. That's when the Ramah says it'll have a din of pasa ababe kisin shadi zed nirgash man atam harbe ma'oid. So a little bit difficult in the comparison. You're nirgash the time, you're nirgash harbe. But this is when Mishnah Berurah explains the Ramah, it's going to get the din of pasa bekistin because it's the majority, it's roiv and it's nirgash ma'oid. So let's just be careful. Mishnah Berurah did not fall off the reason of nirgash atam. You still have to be able to taste it, but you also need it to be roiv. So that is the ikr, and the taste of the dough is the tafel. Similarly, says the Mishnah Berurah that the Ramah is arguing in the first shita that when it's a filled item, you need you need that the filling has to be a lot. So very difficult. So many harbe, so many ma'oids in the Mishnah Berurah. But the Mishnah Berurah is clearly painting a picture that according to the Ramah, it only gets the din of a paspa b'kistin when it's very tasteful. There's a majority of the other item. It does not taste like a regular dough. Sivkatan lamedalid comments on the Ramah that he said, v'chein noig, and this is the minhag, sha'ifin lechem mishta pas ima'at shemen v'tavlin. Says Mishnah Berurah, look at your regular challah recipe. What does it have? It has some oil, has some taste, it has some spices in it, has some salt. And that's what we paskin says Mishnah Berurah, that we call that challah, we make that ha'moitzi. We conclude with the final shita, the shita shlishis of the mechaber, which is ke'ivim yeveshim sivkot l'amrei kach shema ba'aravi. This is Arabic. Ubeloshen Sfarad nikra bushki gush. I for sure pronounced that wrong. It's made from the 5 grains and water. But when you bake it, this sounds like matzah. It's called chewing. Sounds like a good old-fashioned matzah. One of the makaris why Sfardim do not make a matzah, the machaber, unless it is Pesach. We'll stop over here. I'll pick it up from Sifchas the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.